If a society is best judged by the quality of its mercy, well, Britain's socialized medical system appears to be failing that test. 23-month-old Alfie Evans is dying tonight from a neurological condition doctors have been unable to diagnose. He was taken off life support by court order on Monday. Yesterday, an appeals court refused to let Alfie's parents take him to Italy, which is offering an alternative treatment and citizenship. Here to discuss why little Alfie's life matters and what it tells us about socialized medicine is Brexit leader Nigel Farage in London. And this is a live show, and it's the middle of the night. Nigel, thank you so much for being here. I've been praying for Alfie and his family, but I have a question for you tonight. How can courts in the EU and in the UK prevent a family from removing their child from a hospital and taking him or her to another country for treatment? How is that even happening?
Well, what's happening here is the rights of the parent to do what they think are right are being taken away from them. We have a case here, and by the way, it's not the first. We had a big one last year concerning a small boy called Charlie Gard who wanted to go to America for treatment that was not available in the UK. And in this case, with young Alfie, there's treatment available in Italy that is not available here. Now, the little boy is very sick, but I mean, any parent in the world who's got a child that's sick would move heaven and earth if somebody else could offer them a different treatment. And yet, what happens here is our state-run medical system decides there is nothing else that can be done, and backed up by state courts, they make a decision that those parents are not fit to move their child somewhere else. And when you think about this case, I mean, the Pope's intervened, the Italian president even granted the boy Italian citizenship, and still the medical profession and the courts say, no, we're sorry, we're putting the plug, the life support machine has been turned off. So this gets to the absolute heart of how much freedom does the individual have? How much decision-making process do the parents have? Yeah. Or are our children now owned by the state?
I mean, Nigel, it's almost like they broke Alfie's father today, because at the beginning of the day, he was saying, come here and see how my son is a hostage of this hospital, which is what we on this show and so many others have called him. He's like a hostage of the National Health Service. And he said, what we are enduring is not right. But by the end of the day, he had changed his tune and basically said, everybody go back to your lives. And I think the hospital kind of sounds like he was threatened. And he said, well, you're not going to get anything from us unless you tone it down.
There was a picture yesterday of this hospital, Alderhay Hospital in the northwest of England, with 20 uniformed police officers standing outside the door of the hospital to stop little Alfie being taken out and to stop protesters from getting in, using the police to keep the child in the hospital. Now, these parents have been through every single legal process available to them, and I'm guessing, now that the life support machine has been turned off, now that there is no prospect at all of the young boy going to Italy, in the end, the father has accepted the inevitable. Whether he was threatened or not, I don't know. But what I do know is that when I was involved in this Charlie Gard case last year, I turned up outside the hospital, in this case Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and I was told in no uncertain terms by the PR services for the hospital that what I was doing was damaging the reputation of the hospital by doing press reports outside where this little boy was dying. And it is just, it's classic of the establishment closing ranks, the state being all-powerful, and frankly, what is happening today, what is happening right now, is a form of state-sponsored euthanasia, and I hate it.
No, he's now an undesirable, and we can't help him. Undesirable because he can't be fixed. I think part of it, we're almost out of time. I think part of it, Nigel, is the National Health Service. They don't want to risk the fact that he goes over to Italy. Maybe he gets treatment and he has some quality of life, and that's a big embarrassment to the National Health Service. Thank you for being up late for us tonight, Nigel.
There's a clash of civilizations. It's not possible to be a Muslim and a Westerner, or, you know, the West hates us. And you're inadvertently playing their game.
Nigel Farage is the former leader of UKIP, the UK Independence Party. He has spent years pointing out the dangers lurking around the world, and he joins us tonight. How'd this guy wind up mayor of London, Nigel, and is he for real?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's lost the plot, hasn't he? I mean, how on earth can you compare Trump to ISIS? ISIS is a barbarous, murderous regime that inflicts countless misery on as many people as it can. And Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, and maybe the mayor doesn't like him, but Trump actually is standing up, defending our Judeo-Christian culture, and is doing it in the face of extraordinary opposition from judges in America, from people in his own party. But honestly, I do think Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, is, to put it mildly, wide of the mark with these comments. They are ludicrous.
What does the rest of the UK think when they look to London and they see this guy as mayor? I mean, it must be... I mean, this is the seat of the British Empire. This was a really impressive place for hundreds of years, and this guy's running it?
Yes, I mean, look, let's be frank. You know, he is not particularly high caliber. He's been elected in a city that is now increasingly a Labour left-of-centre city. I mean, do remember that a lot of people in Britain are nervous, are a little bit politically correct, are scared perhaps of saying some things, but it's also worth remembering that over the course of his political career, Sadiq Khan himself has made some real mistakes in terms of who he shared a platform with. You know, he shared a platform with some guys who've turned out to have some Islamic views that are pretty unsavoury. And I honestly, I think conservative Britain looks at what Sadiq Khan says, frankly, shakes their head and examines their shoes.
That's very British of them, I have to say. So do you see across Europe, as you look what just happened in Germany, and as you look what is happening in Spain with Catalan independence, is the continent coming apart? It looks that way a little bit from here.
Yeah, in many ways it is. I mean, look, you know, you've heard the story over the course of the last few months. The populist revolt is over. Macron has won in France. Merkel is back in Germany. But the truth of it is, what you saw happening in Germany yesterday was, for the first time in decades, a party that is unashamedly German, a party that is talking about their own identity, running their own country, deeply sceptical of being run from Brussels, getting 90 seats in the Bundestag. So yesterday is a big day in Germany. And for those who comfort themselves that Macron won in France, well, in the first round of the French presidential election, nearly 50% of candidates voted for secessionists. So the message here is we may not have had the big seismic shocks of Brexit and Trump that we had in 2016 happening in 17, but believe you me, the momentum, the movement of those that say we don't want to be elected, run by unelected supranational cabals, that is still growing, that is still gathering pace, and I believe me, Tucker, in 10 years' time, this European Union, as you see it today, will not exist.
That's right. And this entire finance-based international order is on its way out, I think, for good or ill. Nigel Farage, thanks a lot. Great to see you tonight.
Thank you.
Well, recent hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Maria have killed dozens of Americans and many more across the globe. Now, global warming activists are saying that skeptics of climate change should be charged with murder for those deaths. Up next, we'll see what an actual scientist thinks of that proposition. Stay tuned.